Christmas is officially over, which means that I can legally re-celebrate Halloween. And what better way to do that than doing yet another Iceberg. Instead of TF2, however, we have the Fallout series this time. Because the only thing scarier than obscure game knowledge and lore is the threat of a nuclear fallout, apparently. Once again, this Iceberg was made by Crits D, the same person who made the TF2 Iceberg, who actually suggested I should make a video on this one as well. So here we are again. But now, with balanced audio. I think everyone should know what an iceberg meme is by now. Trend's been going on for a while, but for those that are still unaware and living under a rock, stuff on the top is common knowledge, going further down means more obscure information, eventually resulting in you turning to Alice and going down a rabbit hole. Unlike the last iceberg, however, this iceberg is much more focused around in-game theories and obscurities rather than creepypastas. So without further ado, let's dive right back into the abyssal horror that awaits us. The catalyst of the Fallout games. The Great War was a global nuclear war resulting in the collapse of the world we once knew, and the building of the world we now know. Complete world destruction occurred on October 23rd, 2077. The war itself only lasted for 2 whole hours, but years prior to that, between American and China in the Sino-American War for resources eventually caused the two to reach a nuclear conclusion, resulting in the Great War. The MacGuffin of Fallout New Vegas. The best game in the series. The Platinum chip was originally created by Mr. House on October 22nd, 2077. Day before the bombs dropped. Unfortunately, the chip was lost in the nuclear holocaust. It was eventually found in 2281, and it was scheduled to be delivered back to Mr. House by the courier, or the playable character, until it was stolen by Benny. The chip itself is actually a storage device, containing an upgrade for the Securitrons, in addition to the security upgrades to Lucky 38. I'm going to assume this one is a reference to the faction and not the game. Actually, forget I mentioned that. Let's not even bring up the game, alright? The game never happened. The Brotherhood of Steel, or BOS, is a major faction in the world of Fallout, appearing or being mentioned in every game in the series. The BOS is a techno-religious military-based group focused on salvaging, keeping, and regulating technology usage. Their philosophy and motives change from one game to the next, like how at one point they were gatekeeping solar power and a death ray, and then in the future they just turned into racists. Oh, it's the poorly written out faction from Fallout 4. Fun. The Institute is a highly technologically advanced faction whose origins stem from the Commonwealth Institute of Technology, or CIT. After the bombs fell, they dug out massive underground shelters, eventually creating advanced technological marvels, like the teleporter and synths. The secretive nature of the Institute has earned them the nickname of the Commonwealth's Boogeyman. Their motives, however, make zero fucking sense at all. Synths are creations of the Institute, and are both biological and mechanical robots. The range is from, that's a fucking robot, to, that might be a fucking robot. They originally used as the Institute's scavengers, gathering resources on the surface until they were deemed too shoddy. An upgrade was needed, resulting in the eventual research and creation of synthetic skin, for some reason. To create skin, however, the Institute steals the sole survivor's, that's you, son Sean. His perfect unaffected DNA being the basis for the creation of the 3rd generation of synths. Eventually, an event called the Broken Mask Incident caused a Gen 3 synth to massacre several people in Diamond City, causing the people to vilify the Institute and the synths. In addition to the Institute randomly abducting people in the night and replacing them with robots. Once again, why? Like, what's the motive? They genuinely believe this is somehow doing good? And it isn't even a situation like we brainwashed our followers to believe this is needed, but we're actually trying to control the world. Like Father genuinely thinks this is a good idea and is somehow helping both humanity and the Commonwealth at the same time. Like, what? Oh Christ, this will be a long one. Vault-Tec was a pre-Great War company that designed and built several bunkers designed to save people in case of a nuclear fallout. I say the word save sarcastically because out of the known 122 vaults, only 17 of them were strictly designed to save people. The other 105 vaults were designed to test the people inside, subjugate to certain environments and factors to see how they would last. For example, we have Vault 21, which was originally created to test how society would solve conflicts solely for using gambling. Not too bad. I mean, gambling is a sin, but, you know, Vault 43 was inhabited by 20 men, 10 women, and a panther. And then there's Vault 11. Yikes. A cryptid is an animal whose existence has yet to be proven by science, despite numerous evidence or photographs stating otherwise. Much like my father. Fallout has always had a small share of cryptids, but the cast really showed up in Fallout 76, with the addition of local myths like the Mothman, Sheepsquatch, the Flatwoods Monster, and the Megasloth. Recall when I mentioned the Institute stole Sean, your baby boy, to create synths? Well, when you wake from your icy bed, set off to find Sean in the Institute, you learn the head of the Institute, named Father, is actually your baby boy Sean, all grown up. And what a terrible leader he is. Real smart move, son. Just ignore everyone else in the Institute because dear old mom and dad showed up. The set of the first DLC for Fallout 3, Operation Anchorage. The Brotherhood of Steel outcasts come across an armory containing powerful pre-war technology, but the only way to open up the damn thing is by going through a simulation of the liberation of Anchorage, Alaska. If you recall the war I mentioned between the Chinese and America over resources and themselves, Alaska was eventually occupied by the Chinese, resulting in America to take it back. I already mentioned this when I talked about Vault-Tec. Ripley's Believe It or Not, the way you can measure if you're in the blast zone where all the smog and smoke can suffocate you is by holding up your thumb and extending your arm. If the fireball of death from the explosion is larger than your thumb, then you are dead. Also, don't believe this, it isn't true. Also, the lead artist for Fallout said this isn't true at all. Stealth boys are small devices that allow the user to turn invisible. Issues with this amazing armament is the addition of alluring afflictions akin to permanent neurological and psychological conditions, such as paranoia and schizophrenia. These effects are most noticeable in Nightkin, super mutants that regularly use and abuse the stealth boys. The Lonesome Drifter is a minor character in Fallout New Vegas. He's part of the side quest talent pool, which sees you finding performers for the Tops Casino. When you talk to him, he mentions he set off away from home in search of his father, a mysterious fella who left him and his mother. You can pass a barter check with him to receive the Mysterious Magnum, a magnum that when drawn or holstered plays the theme of the mysterious stranger. The mysterious stranger is, well, a mysterious stranger. He's an NPC that randomly shows up if you take the Mysterious Stranger perk and helps the player out by randomly showing up, shooting an enemy in one in VATS, and then vanishing without a trace. The Lonesome Drifter's description of his dad and the gun he gets seems to point to the Mysterious Stranger somehow being his father. The Flatwoods Monster in real life refers to a cryptid that was theorized to be an alien. In Fallout 76, however, they are very much real and very much a threat. The race of aliens the Flatwood Monsters comes from is the Zetans, aliens which have appeared over and over again in the Fallout games, most prominently in the Mothership Zeta DLC for Fallout 3. Fallout 76 originally had a thought-to-be inaccessible debug room which contained everything in the game. Normally this wouldn't be a problem in a single-player game, but Fallout 76 has online multiplayer. So it's a yikes when people somehow manage to glitch their way in and take everything. Trash Can Carla is a plain old wandering merchant. Nothing interesting to say here. Unless that's what she wanted you to think. According to an Institute terminal, Trash Can Carla is actually an Institute informant reporting the whereabouts on escaped synths so they could be reclaimed by the Institute.
Hello, Carla. It's been a long time since you had anything to report.
That's just how it's been. You guys have put the fear in those runaway synths, and now they won't show their faces.
What appears as a simple marble quarry mine holds a dark, ancient secret. The miners weren't uncovering stone here, but an ancient and dark temple that worshipped a long-forgotten god. When the temple was partially uncovered and accessible, the company behind the excavation turned to murder three of the mining crew and feared they might expose the truth to the outside. Hundreds of years later, however, the quarry would be occupied by a group of raiders who soon fell victim to an unknown eldritch force who whispered insanity to the ears of passerby. Like Hugo, who was driven to insanity by something he refers to as it. Going down the tunnels, the player is subject to several flashbacks. The most eerie shows several people bowing before an altar. Noises can also be heard coming from nowhere, and there's a constant rumbling that gets louder and louder and louder the further and further and further you delve. Dunwich Boars is a reference to the works of H.P. Lovecraft and his Cthulhu mythos, specifically the story of the Dunwich Horror. The name Dunwich is also shared with the Dunwich Building in the Fallout 3 DLC Point Lookout. There's even more evidence of an eldritch abomination within this building, containing an obelisk dedicated to the worship of a being only known as Ughquilith? I'm sorry for ruining the mood, people, but like, Lovecraft sucks at naming things. Like, just look at his cat's name, or don't. It's a bit questionable. Yet another science experiment gone wrong from Vault-Tec. Food paste is a consumable item that was a food substitute, first tested and used in Suffolk County Charter School. The paste was designed to have a long shelf life, while still providing all the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients a balanced breakfast would bring. Of course, this is Vault-Tec we're talking about, so of course something went wrong. Consumers of the paste would quickly become addicted to it and turn incredibly irritable. Long-term consumption would also cause the complexion of the person to turn pink, evidenced by the ghouls you can find in the school. What's a bit more of a horrifying image, however, is that the paste bleeds if you shoot it, making you wonder if it's just strawberry flavored or people flavored. Nuka-Cola contains 120% more sugar than the daily recommended amount. A single can of Coke is roughly 3% more for comparison. So we're talking a lot of sugar. I mean, there are also other bad things, like how you can become addicted to it and suffer withdrawal symptoms. But just think about how much damage occurs to your teeth from all that sugar, all the dentist bills. Dog meat is a dog, hence the name. He's supposed to be the first companion the player comes across and helps in a variety of important quests, like helping you track down Kellogg, the man who kidnapped your son Sean. The happenstance and coincidental nature of these two events, however, makes some people theorize that dog meat is actually a synth from the Institute reporting on your whereabouts. Fallout certainly has some inspiration coming from Lovecraft, such as the Dunwich thing I mentioned prior, or even the Far Harbor DLC for Fallout 4. However, it certainly wouldn't say it's all a Lovecraft story. First off, this theory was completely debunked and disproven, and it's just really long and detailed, so I'm just gonna link a video in the description that poorly goes over it. Alright. PAM stands for Predictive Analytic Machine. It's a robot that was built to predict the future to prevent a nuclear war if one were to occur. Oh wait, that actually happened though? Think of that one movie, Minority Report, but more so that Futurama episode that parodied it, called Law and Oracle. The theory in question suggests that Pam launched the nukes that ended the world, so more akin to that other movie, War Games, I guess. It's a pretty detailed theory, so here's a link to an Oxford video that discusses who could have dropped the bombs, including Pam, Vault-Tec, and even aliens. Mr. New Vegas is the friendly radio host of Radio New Vegas, playing everyone's favorite Wasteland songs and Johnny guitar, while also commentating and reporting on the news and the player's influence and the outcome of certain events. But what you didn't know is that he's actually an AI created by Mr. House. He literally has no body, he's just a voice. Pretty self-explanatory. The door in question can be found in Fallout 3 at Satcom Area and O3D. The whole area has some fun Easter egg stuff going in it, actually. Alright, spooky voice time again. The Interloper, also known as the Firstborn of the Wood, can be found in the Lucky Hole Mine in Fallout 76. The mine was at one point in time the place of prayer for the cult of the Mothman, who are called to location by him, instructed by the priestess of the First Wood, who was consumed by his voice and influence. Another man by the name of Jeff Lane was also called to it, evidenced by the holotape, The Chosen.
The Interloper is here. I can feel it clearly. Last night, in visions more real than the senses, it called to me, and I go to it now. Signs are all around that I am not the only one to hear the call, though where they have failed, I will not, for it summons me alone in the end. Before I go deeper, for the truth revealed changes all. By its very nature, let it be known, in this world, the Interloper has chosen Jeff Lane as the conduit of the unknowable. Together, the hidden reality becomes manifest at long last.
Venturing down the depths yourself, you'll come across a horde of totems and signals, all to honor his embrace. And then you'll see him, the Interloper, containing a mass of tentacles, several grasping human arms, and a pair of legs. The Interloper is hard to describe, much like other eldritch abominations of the deep abyss. The colossal heads found within Dunwich Boars also makes an appearance here, tying the Dunwich building, Dunwich Boars, and now the Lucky Hole Mine to Qualith. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for ruining the mood again, but these fucking names, man. Can't we just call him something like Junior? Spin. Round and round his head goes. Where it stops, nobody knows. The Doc Mitchell glitch was a bug that caused Doc Mitchell's head to spin around like he's from The Exorcist. It was a day one bug for Fallout New Vegas, but it was eventually fixed. Germa joke about him being a greedy gremlin goes here. The Easy Pete migration occurred on September 21st, 2016, when a fresh new face decided to watch the local population of Easy Pete migrate back to Good Springs, only to accidentally upset the herd inside of its natural habitat. Grenade Man's a little joke story that can be overheard by raiders in Fallout 4. I'm just gonna let the conversation play out.
The front of the store and everything seemed fine, right? He must have got spooked or something, because he suddenly starts throwing grenades everywhere.
What? What'd you guys do?
That's the thing. It turns out they weren't grenades at all. They were just rocks. He was making the sounds with his mouth. Pins being pulled, the whole 9 yards.
Fucking nuts. Did you guys take him out?
No, we just stood there. We couldn't believe what we were seeing. After he threw about a half a dozen rocks near the back of the store, he started making machine gun noises and backing toward the door. Once he got outside, it sounded like he pretended to get on a motorcycle, which of course didn't start right away. Then he took off toward the freeway at what sounded like full throttle, shifting gears and everything.
That's insane. How does someone like that survive out here at all?
I don't know. There's some lunatics out there, though.
Another complicated one. The voice actor for the companion super mutant from Fallout 3 once in an interview saying the following. Despite that, however, the lead designer of Fallout said this in response. What I find odd about this response, however, is the usage of the word is. implying that the super mutant is still somehow biologically male, despite all super mutants lacking any sex-specific organs. If you thought radiation or nuclear fire was the worst part of the Fallout universe, then boy, do I have some news for you. The new plague, also known as the blue flu, originally rose in America in the 2050s, and eventually affecting so many individuals that it results in a national quarantine resulting in America to shut its borders. Also, hardy hard, yes, easy COVID-19 joke. Yeah, get it out of your system, go ahead, you have my permission. I'll give you 10 seconds. Feel free to comment something witty down below. You know? Alright? Good? And keep it up. 3, 2, 1. Alright, we're going back. You feel better though? You got that out of your system? Alright, can I continue with the class, Johnny? Thanks. The symptoms of the plague started off like those of the old common cold, before worsening greatly. Profuse sweating, swelling, and eventually death through asphyxiation, clogging respiratory systems, hence the name the blue flu. A program to find the cure for the plague inadvertently laid the stepping stones for that forced evolutionary virus, or FEV for short. Unfortunately, a cure for the virus was never truly found. An unmarked location in Fallout 4. I mean, it's self-explanatory, right? Stonehenge made from cars. Also watch out for the behemoth. Yet another theory, one that doesn't hold up well when you look at the actual inspiration for the Dead Money DLC in Fallout New Vegas. Both the famous song by the Eagles and the DLC do have a running theme of greed and man's betrayal of himself and others in search of it. I've linked a Reddit page discussing the connection a bit more in detail, but personally I don't see it. That's the funny sex number I hear people call nice on the interweb. Vault 69 shows up briefly in the Penny Arcade comic, one man in a crate full of puppets. The test itself appears to be 999 women and one man locked in a vault. In contrast, Vault 68 is 999 men and one woman. Christy, you imbecile! I gotcha, you fucker! You fucked up big! I know all there is to know about potato lore, you idiot! Challenging a man like me to this, come on. Although it is true that potatoes did eventually go extinct, evolving or crossbreeding with tomatoes to give us potato, Christy says it's impossible for potatoes to exist because they're mentioned to be extinct in Fallout 4, but somehow show up in Fallout New Vegas in numerous numbers. And that's because the setting of New Vegas is here, while the setting for Fallout 4 is here. Also, there's a gap of about 4 years between the two games, so... Either a reference to the video of the same name in the description, or people actually understanding how morals work in a post-apocalyptic world, even with the presence of so-called villains. I didn't know about this one, and its existence actually brings up some unique questions. In the Point Lookout DLC for Fallout 3, at the coastal grotto, off in the water you can see a boy. Diving underneath the boy reveals the fossilized remains of a Tyrannosaurus Rex with a locked chest in its mouth. It's a neat little Easter egg, but it offers the question of how and why is there a T-Rex out here, and the purpose of who left a locked chest out here too. A quite large fan theory that says the sole survivor from Fallout 4 was actually replaced by a synth. It's a pretty theory with a lot of speculation and not a whole lot of evidence to back it up. But there's yet another Oxhorn video with a fairly okay explanation to it all, so I don't gotta say a damn thing here. A lot of whale skeletons show up in the Far Harbor DLC for Fallout 4, but what's most interesting is rumors and stories regarding whales that are still alive. Ghoul whales aren't ever directly seen unless you think that these dead creatures here, simply called sea creatures in the game files, are somehow them. They're mentioned a few times by unnamed NPCs, with even a named ghoul whale being called Old Peg, originally being a species of blue whale, the largest animal on the planet. What am I even... Oh, it's hideous. His skin is so stretched and wrinkled. He looks like he came straight out of Spooky's House of Jump Scares, or like he somehow ripped from an elephant's ass or something. I'm gonna be sick. Ah, go to the next one already. Oh Christ, thank fuck they changed it. Good lord. Christ, this Fury is somehow less scary than what we just encountered. Fallout seems to be infested with mannequins. A new plague was actually in reference to how many of these things there are. The sheer amount of mannequins and the obscurity of their placement has led some people to believe that there's something more going on with them. One theory suggests some lunatic has placed them all around the place, while the more common theory is that the mannequins are somehow alive. Most assume they're synths spying on people, but others claim it's something far more sinister. Selective advertisement. The Exo-1 power armor was originally detailed as being a pure post-war creation, engineered by the Enclave, or the remaining members of the US military, after the bombs dropped, shown here via this loading screen tip for Fallout 4. And then along came Nuka World, and its Quantum XO power armor. People wondered how the hell an untouched pre-war suit of armor, which was designed to match Nuka-Cola Quantum, a drink that came out the days the bomb dropped, could still be considered post-war technology when it now clearly wasn't. And the simple answer to that is that the quantum power armor isn't an issue, since it simply retconned the previous lore to the Exo-1 being developed shortly before the bombs dropped, rather than afterwards. No? No. I know it's no. We know it's no. No. Unless you're trying to bring Fallout 76 multiplayer in the mix, in which case it's still no, because he'll show up even if you are alone in a single-player world. Fallout 4's Far Harbor DLC added a weapon called the Striker. It's a bowling ball launcher that has its ammo being capable of being picked right back up. Then there's another weapon called the Big Boy. This is a unique Fat Man launcher that shoots 2 mini nukes for the cost of 1. Now, what if we combined the picked up ammo into 2 for 1 shot? Bada bing bada boom, Wii Sports bitch infinite bowling balls. Mr. House makes a comment on the domestic cat being extinct in Fallout New Vegas. However, their appearance in Fallout 4 makes us come to 2 conclusions. A, that there's synths spying on people. I'm getting really tired of saying that every 5 minutes. Or B, the actual reason they're just extinct on the west coast of America, and House hasn't seen one or heard them since the bombs fell. I mean, you can kill a cat in Fallout 4 and see it doesn't have any synth components. Go ahead and see for yourself, you monster. Go kill an innocent cat. Go ahead. Do it. I dare you. A cut Fallout 4 questline for the Institute called The Replacement may have had you turn your loving, rotting spouse into a synth. There isn't a whole lot of details in regards to this, admittedly, so... Refers to a bug resulting in dead NPCs reanimating while still being gibbed, resulting in a horrendous abomination that should be shot and killed again. Now, the background footage here shows some pipelines and some strange spears all connected together under the sea. Some people think this is linked to an underwater civilization such as, and I kid you not, fucking Atlantis. It's much more likely that these pipes were leftover content from a cut questline called 20 Leagues Under the Sea, which would have had players go into a vault located underwater. Most people think Myron from Fallout 2 made Jet, and to his credit, he did reinvent the addictive drug, costing less to make and being able to make it faster and much easier, resulting in the drug becoming super popular in the apocalypse. But we run into the question on how the fuck is there Jet in areas that have been sealed off since the Great War? Well, turns out someone else must have originally created the drug before the bombs dropped. But who? I sadly couldn't find the original source for this theory, but it simply states that the major faction leaders and other major characters in the games all match up with one skill. For example, President Kimball of the NCR's strength, Robert House would be luck, and the courier endurance. My main problem with this theory is that some characters like House or Caesar don't really line up to a single trait. Caesar is an intelligent man, but he's also a brutal and strong one. I think it's a bit narrow to just say that he's only intelligence. Ghouls are creatures that have been exposed to so much radiation that they've lost most of their body hair, skin, and in some cases minds, causing them to go feral. On the positive note of this, however, you have potential immortality and an immunity to radiation. Now, if you know anything about radiation, you know that it can kill people. So how come some people can be exposed to radiation and come out not fine, alive, I think, while others just flop to the ground? It's all in your genes, baby. That's the wrong pair of genes. Okay, that's just Gene Wilder. So genes. Alright, there we go, thank you. There's a specific gene that allows people to transform into a ghoul, specifically referring to their survivability and lack of decay, rather than actually perishing from radiation. Fallout New Vegas ends right after the Battle of the Hoover Dam. You get the cutscenes voiced by Ron Perlman talking about everything, and that's it. Despite that, however, it appears that there was planned content for New Vegas after the battle for Hoover Dam. The most obvious being Mr. New Vegas lines talking about the winner of the battle, the factions that promise to do certain things actually go out and do them, such as the Legion now appearing on the Strip, and a handful of new major quests, one for each faction it appears. Just got monetization and I'm already throwing it away. Now, the child killer perk isn't actually a perk, but a reputation. Think the karma system, but actually good. It was prevalent in Fallout, Fallout 2, and Fallout New Vegas. Aside from tracking how well a certain group of people like you, the reputation system also added titles. These titles would be specific to your character, such as the Made Man, which informs everyone you belong to a crime family, or the Married title. And yes, there exists a child killer title, which you can earn by killing 2 or 3 kids. This isn't cut content, by the way. I mean, the image used here is, but the mechanic is still in the game. Assuming this entry is based off the Reddit post in the description below, it's a terrible fucking theory. I can understand like the basis for it being Vault Tech is bad and they do experiments, so what if the experiment was a drug trip and we hallucinated Fallout 4, even though we witnessed the bombs dropping and there are other games in the series? Even if we just assume we never got out of the cryopods and are just having a snowy sleep, how on earth can we hallucinate connected events from this game and other games? I mean, there may be a vault number that co-aligns with the verses of the Holy Bibles. Crits D thinks Vault 92 is connected to Psalms 92, but really the only connection I can personally find is the usage of the word singing relating to music, much like how the people of Vault 92 were all musicians. I haven't really touched the Holy Bible since 1517, so my memory of the events are a bit foggy. I am more interested in fake world lore than real world lore, alright? So get off my back. Deepwater Horizon was the world's largest oil spill fuck-up, resulting in 7,800,000 cubic meters of oil to spill into the ocean for the first 4 months. It's still spilling oil to this day, actually. The oil station itself blew up on April 20th, 2010. Fallout 3 came out in 2008, and with it came a creepypasta regarding Free Dog's death. Free Dog is a charismatic radio host of Galaxy News Station. A player reported killing him and later tuning into the radio station, where he received cryptic messages in Morse code. The community cracked these codes and all of them pointed to some grim prediction. Some, such in regards to when Queen Elizabeth was going to be dead, which is probably fucking never, turned out to be wrong. But 2 were correct. One detailing an oil spill and another detailing Gary Coleman's death. But who knows the truth to these strange events? Oh, simulation and hallucination theories don't work in universes that have connecting events. You can't have an event happen in one section and then be referenced in another, but still claim that one of them is made up. Unlike the Fallout 4 one, however, the Fallout 3 one has a bit more evidence to it due to Vault 112 as being a simulation. As for 76, has similar evidence of being trapped within a simulation. I've linked the post describing the two in detail, but I hate this. What did I just say? Like, just said it a minute. You know what? No, I'm done. I'm done. I'm out. I'm out. No more video. See ya. I'm done. Bye. I'm going. Adios. Bye-bye. I'm long gone. Going all the way to the door. Inspired by this image here in the Museum of Freedom, many people hoped we would get to go to the moon. Even the Gek is mentioned as being capable of creating a habitat on the moon, but we never got to go to the moon. Just because a game isn't referenced as often doesn't immediately make it non-canonical. Fallout 4 directly mentions Rabbit House, and the reason why we probably don't hear much about Vegas is because it's literally on the other side of the country. That being said, however, there was a great deal of drama revolving around New Vegas, and Nick Valentine's report on the mysterious stranger mentions both Fallout 1, 2, and 3, but for some reason solely excludes New Vegas. Nobark Noan comes off as nothing more than a poorly kept and crazy conspiracy theorist who appears in Novak. He seems to talk about crazy theories as well as going off on long tangents, like how invisible chupacabras have been killing Brahmin, or religious ghouls going into outer space. But those things actually happened. Nobark Noan is clearly smarter than he lets on, even if he talks about stuff in a roundabout and cryptic way. Could there be more to this character than meets the eye? A common theory is that Nobark is actually the Chosen One, the playable character from Fallout 2. Canonically speaking, the Chosen One was a male at the age of 20 during the time frame of Fallout 2. Fallout New Vegas is set 40 years after those events, meaning the Chosen One would be around 60. Nobark certainly matches that age. It's a loose theory, but an interesting one regardless. I'll link the video in the description going over this theory. It is kind of lucky that all the evidence that points to Father being your son Sean is provided by the Institute, an organization that totally wouldn't exploit such an opportunity. Recall that Oxworm video detailing how Pam started the war? I would just go ahead and watch that again, or just recall the points made on who really started the war. It's been a long video, alright? Just let me rest, okay? I'm getting old. And once again, we resurface, or something else witty and relevant. I hope you all enjoyed sitting through all this explaining. Compared to the TF2 Iceberg, the script for this was 7 pages longer. I understand I did a pretty shallow talk about certain topics, but I believe that's more of a credit to how rich and large the lore of Fallout can be, rather than my own misgivings. And don't even get me started on all the fan theories, myths, and Easter eggs. I thank you guys for not only sitting through me losing my sanity, researching and talking about fictional things, but for also making me feel somewhat sane by also commenting on them as well. Hopefully you all learned something new from this. I certainly did. And I thank you for subscribing if you did so, and I would like to thank my dad, the Academy, and most importantly you. Not you. Yeah, you in the back there, in the blue sweater. Yeah, you know who you are. And a final large thanks to Chris D for not only informing me about this Fallout Iceberg and giving me permission to talk about it here, but also for getting me back into the Fallout games. It's been a while since I've played any of them, and I'm glad that that spark has been reignited. I'm not sure why I stopped playing.
Bastard.
Oh,